What is up, everyone? Happy Monday. It is Monday, May 19th. Waiting for this video to make sure it's live. We should be good. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I'm actually down in Sandbridge, Virginia, hence the change of background here. I'm doing a family vacation with my wife's family. Just want to make sure real quick that you guys can hear me. I always struggle. I don't know why. I always struggle with these lives, with the audio and stuff, especially when I'm traveling. You'd think I'd be good at this stuff by now, but apparently not. I am not. Hopefully you guys have had a great weekend. Let me make sure this works. Yep, looks like it's working. And I don't know if you can hear my son William just screaming his head off, crying out there. I don't know what happened to him, but his mom Megan's with him, so we're down here enjoying some much-needed time together as a family with Megan's family. It's going to be awesome. I want to answer a question for you today on this Monday Mindset that I got from a guy that listens to our podcast, Russell. And Russell asked me, what are the best times and days to prospect leads? And so I wrote down some stuff for you, but I have some thoughts on this because, as you guys know, I run Reminder Media, and we have a decent-sized call center. It's all virtual now, but we have 100 plus people on the phones all day long. And it's interesting where, telecommunications is going, because I feel like it's harder and harder to get people on the phones these days because of technology. So we're also implementing some other things that maybe I'll do another Monday Mindset about, which is how do you get people to actually answer the phone. We've switched our whole sales process. I can't remember if I've told you this or not on Monday Mindset. So we used to be a one-call close. So for years and years and years, for the past decade plus, we've been doing a one-call close where we call people. On that call, within 20 minutes, we're trying to get them to sign up for our marketing package. We're a lower ticket item, so you're not dropping tens of thousands of dollars, so it's a quick decision for people. So we've always been that, but as we have seen answer rates go down, and as we've seen it harder and harder to get people on the phone, we've realized that a two-call close model is more predictable. And more importantly than the predictability, although that's extremely important, we have found that the consumer, when you call to get them on the phone and you book an appointment, or at least when we call you guys and real estate agents and stuff like that, in that moment, we can get them to book an appointment at a pretty high rate, and we can get a pretty good show rate on the demos. We're trying to press it. We want to get a 75% show rate. Right now we're more around, we fluctuate in between like 50 and 60% show rate, which I still think is pretty good, but I feel like we can get it to 75%. But here's the reason why I say this is because what we have found is when we book an appointment with you and you show up to the actual appointment, well, you're in the buying mode, meaning you're going to get sold something, that you're going to have to make a decision, and we find our close rates are insane. Like we were getting close rates with sample requests and people requesting info on our products and services at maybe 30 to 40% with our, I would say good closers, but we're getting close rates of like 80% on these demos, which is pretty phenomenal. It's pretty amazing what we're seeing there, which is awesome. So anyways, when are the best times to prospect? That is a great question. And my answer to this is that I don't believe, because I've tested a ton of stuff over the years, I don't believe the times of day, the nuance gain you're going to get in really trying to hone into the perfect hour is going to make as much difference as the consistency of calling. So quite frankly, I tell agents all the time that, look, you're not calling and following up enough for it to even matter. First, fix your follow-up. First, fix the number of calls you make to a lead. And then let's talk about fine-tuning it down to the detail of what hour you call and what day you call. It's kind of like if you're coaching someone to play basketball and they're like, hey, teach me how to do like an alley-oop, or teach me how to do a hook shot or something like, or a fadeaway. And you're like, well, hey, dude, you got to first learn to just do a free throw, or you got to learn to actually dribble the ball. And that is where the pain point I see in the industry. It is not about the time of day and hour of day, even though that matters and can help you. It is way more about the consistency of calls, meaning you are not calling nearly enough to actually get that lead on the phone. And so I'm going to get to what I think are the best days to call from the research that's out there and the best times to call. But first I want to talk a little bit about what I call is the buyer's journey. And in this buyer's journey, what I have found is I kind of broke it down into an acronym called CARR, C-A-R-R. And most people, and this was a study done by Inside Sales and MIT years and years ago, so it needs to be redone. But they found that like most sales reps call 1.2 to I think 1.4 times to a lead. And the problem with that is most leads, as you guys know, they don't close or they don't even go to appointment. We're finding with our Facebook leads, it's taking about 12 calls to get that lead to appointment. And so most leads won't even go to appointment until you call it a minimum of 12 times. There's a study out there that said 5 to 12. I can't source where that study came from, but I know there's a HubSpot study that said it was taking about 18 calls on average to get that inbound lead onto the phone. And this was a few years back. And so that HubSpot study is old, and I would imagine from what I'm seeing with answer rates, it's probably even more. So my point being is if the average rep is only calling a few times, if you're only calling, let's say 4 to 6 times, you're not calling nearly enough to give yourself an actual valid shot. And then this buyer's journey, there's this thing called CARR, which is CARR, and it stands for curiosity, annoyance, resentment, respect. Curiosity, annoyance, resentment, respect. And the buyer goes through this journey where you call them, they don't recognize your number, they're curious. They maybe let it go to voicemail, they maybe answer, but there's this curiosity of why is this number calling me? What does this person want? There's this curiosity of interest. Then if they don't buy from you on that call, which majority of leads don't buy on the first call, maybe for you because you're a great closer, but majority of leads don't buy on the first call, then you move into more than likely the annoyance stage. And the reason why it moves into the annoyance stage is because you're trying to get that buyer to make a decision. And making a decision requires effort and requires them to step out in faith and face their fears and all the stuff that goes along with buying something. And so they've entered into this annoyance phase because you're going to continue to follow up to somebody that you're calling, and they are annoyed that you keep calling them. And if you keep going, this is where most people stop. Most people stop at the annoyance phase, and I think the reason why is because you were raised just like I was raised, to be very polite. You were raised to say yes ma'am, yes sir. You were raised to, not speak unless spoken to. All these things are kind of like ingrained into us from the moment we are growing up, at least for me it was. And so it was very hard to step out of my natural tendency to be polite and respectful and think about, oh, I'm probably annoying this person when I call, and totally switch my mindset to a value-based mindset, which is, hey, I believe in the value that I'm bringing to the table. I believe in the products and services that I have. I believe that this inconvenience of me calling them maybe when they're not expecting it is pales in comparison to the value that I'm going to bring them in the products and services that I have. And only if you get there where you actually, and this requires you to believe way more than just the feature set of your products and services. This makes it have to be like a higher level. Like the best salespeople, they are so impact motivated. They are so driven by changing lives because they know that is what it takes to be able to call somebody the necessary amount of times and face through the objections and adversity to get that person to buy, because you believe so much that they'll be so thankful that on May 19th at 10:10, Luke Acree convinced me after 20 phone calls to step forward because it was the best decision that I ever made because Reminder Media changed my life and my business. That is the type of conviction you have to have, and most agents don't have that conviction. Most agents give up at the annoyance phase. 2 reasons why. They care too much about what the prospect thinks about them calling at the times they're calling, but more importantly, the reason why is they don't have the self-discipline to make their calls consistently. And there's this call fatigue or call cadence that happens that if you don't get leads on the phone within a short period of time, your chances of getting them on the phone goes down dramatically. If you don't call leads a certain amount of times, your chances of converting that lead go down dramatically. So most people, they fail at the annoyance phase because they don't have the self-discipline and they don't have the conviction to keep going. And what kills me here is you proved true to the prospect and buyer that you were annoying. When you stop at the annoyance phase, when you give up at 3 calls, 4 calls, and you stop where the average rep's giving up at 1.4 calls, if that study is still true for MIT and InsideSales.com, if that is still true, you really proved true to the buyer, you are annoying. Like, that's all you are. You're just annoying because you didn't deliver any value. You called them and inconvenienced them. You wasted their time because you didn't keep going. And that is what kills me the most, is that what you hoped you wouldn't be by not calling, you end up being because you didn't deliver any value. You've got to push through. Sometimes You go from annoyance phase straight to the last R, which is respect. Sometimes, if you can get that person on the phone. But other times, it takes you going through the next R, which is resentment. And maybe there's a better word for it because they don't truly resent you. But the truth is, they're more than just annoyed with you. Man, they're just like, they almost get like frustrated. It's like, oh gosh, stop calling me. And the amount of people that have told us to stop calling them that end up buying from us, they get to the next R, which here's the next R, respect. They go, Luke, I just have to commend you. I'm just blown away by your commitment and your follow-up. I'm blown away. I'm going to do this because of your commitment to actually, calling me and staying on top of me. And I know it feels kind of like, oh gosh, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be too aggressive. You shouldn't be perceived as pushy and aggressive. You should be perceived as passionate. That is the truth, but you have to push through because that is where the gold is. It's like Jimmy Johnson said, to be extraordinary, it's just taking the ordinary and putting on the little extra, right? You've got to be extraordinary, which is most people give up calling at 4 or 5 calls. You need to go to 12 calls. Most people give up and they don't ask for the order again and again and again. You should be asking for the order again and again and again because that allows you to actually push through what is I call the fake objections, the fear of the unknown. These people, especially if they reached out to you, if they requested information, they have a need. It is your obligation and the burden's on the communicator to deliver that message with conviction to get people to buy from you. And I just see people give up way too soon at the annoyance phase and they don't push through to the resentment phase and to the respect phase. But if you realize that if you keep going, you're going to end up in respect 2 ways. One is they're going to respect your effort. 2 is, more importantly, they're going to respect your results. They're going to respect the value that you bring to them if you truly have a great product and service. And so all this to say is that, hey, what are the best times to call? What are the best days to call? Let's get into that now data-wise, but it doesn't matter if you're not willing to go through CAR. It doesn't matter if you're not willing to actually call the amount of times you need to call, and that is the bigger pain point for agents. So say amen in the chat if you have felt this before, where you don't want to make your calls. I really wish that Facebook, on their Facebook Live built-in platform, would show you the comments and stuff, but for some reason, I don't know why, it never loads the comments. Let me see if I can go to the actual page. There we go. Let's see, because I feel like I'm just talking at you guys and preaching to you right now. Lily, good morning. Now I'm seeing your comments. So Lily, good morning. Great to see you. Melissa, happy Monday. Great to see you. I am down in Sandbridge, Virginia. Hope you're doing well. Okay, let's go into the data of how often you should call. So here's what they say in terms of the best times to call. Best times to call study-wise is usually between 8 and 10 a.m. because you catch people before the day gets crazy. And then the second best time to call is 4 to 6 p.m., which is right after work, before dinner, especially for working professionals. Saturdays, 10 to 12, they also say are great times to call. So time-wise, you can think between 8 and 10 or 4 and 6 p.m., Saturdays, 10 and 12. But again, like, you might be calling way more than this. So it's not that you shouldn't call at 10:30. That's my point. It's not like you shouldn't. My real challenge to all of you guys is to block out what I would call your calling hours or your power hours and set yourself a timer on your phone where you go, okay, I'm going to dial for 2 hours straight. And I'm going to just do this power hour right now and get really focused during a time because that's going to help you and prioritize your leads. Best days to call. Here's what they say. Tuesday and Thursday are the golden days to call. The reason why they think is because people have settled into their week but aren't checking out for the weekend yet. So they're still in a focus mode. Best engagement rates are often seen, though, on Wednesdays. And they wrote down especially B2C, so business to consumer on Wednesdays. They have seen best engagement rates. So Tuesday through Thursday are the golden days to call because people are still locked into their week. And so for you, I would be calling every day. But if you want to know the actual days, they say Monday is a mixed bag in this research because people are often swamped with their meetings. They're catching up from the weekends. Avoid early Monday mornings, but late Monday afternoon can be decent. Friday tends to have lower response rates. People are wrapping up their week and normally checking out. Friday afternoon is often the worst time unless it's a confirmed weekend appointment. And then Saturday, they say 10 to 12 p.m. on Saturday is the best time to be calling if you're going to call over the weekends. They actually put down in this Sundays you should skip. Sundays you skip. I don't know if I believe that either. But they said unless it's a warm outreach to your sphere or referrals or an appointment, Sunday calls often get ignored or resented, which is interesting. So something to think about. They also say the first call gets you noticed, the second call gets you an appointment, follow up within 24 to 48 hours. I would say follow up within 5 minutes, so I think the study is even behind. And then also in this study, use multi-channel approach, calls, text, email. We have found that to be true. So when a lead comes in, can you get to them within 5 minutes? Can you hit them with a text, with an email, with a call? Because you have more chances at that point, one, to get them when they're in the intent, and then more importantly, to reach them on some channel to verify that it's a real human being, because so many of the leads, as we know, maybe aren't qualified leads, and so you want to sift through so you don't have to waste your time calling a bunch of no-name people that don't really matter. You want to get to the qualified leads. So if you can hit them within 5 minutes with intent, that is the key. All right, guys, that is my Monday mindset for you. Hope this was valuable. I'm going to go enjoy now the beach. I can't show it to you guys now. Maybe you guys could see it. I don't know. But hopefully you have a great week. Get out there and win for your family, for you, for your clients. Let's make it happen this week. Happy Monday. Let's go.